Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders are entering one of the most pivotal off-seasons in recent franchise memory. And if there was ever a time for General Manager Adam Peters to define his legacy, it's now. After a meteoric rise in 2024 that saw the team reignite hope among a battered fan base, the follow-up campaign in 2025 has been nothing short of a gut punch. The euphoria has faded, replaced by a hard dose of reality. Injuries, underperformance, and questionable roster decisions have left the Commanders searching for answers. But amid the chaos, one move, one statement signing has stood out like a beacon in the storm, revealing a clear path forward for Washington. The writing is on the wall. The Commanders' first major offseason move has to be locking down left tackle Laremy Tunsil with a well-deserved extension. It's easy to forget just how quickly things turned. Peters, who was lauded for transforming the organization's culture in his first year, is now staring down a 2026 offseason that could either cement him as the savior of the Commanders or label him another front office misfire. The optimism that once surrounded the team has been replaced by scrutiny, and every decision he makes from this point forward will be under the microscope. Washington's roster is top-heavy, the salary cap is flexible but deceptive, and draft capital is scarce. After Peters chose stability over action at the trade deadline, the Commanders have only 6 picks to work with. And the reality is harsh. Not every hole can be filled in one offseason. That means difficult choices are coming, choices that might alienate fans in the short term, but build a foundation for sustainable success. The irony is that Peters' aggressiveness last offseason was supposed to prevent exactly this kind of regression. Instead, it might have accelerated it. He chose to run it back with many of the same veterans who carried the team to unexpected success in 2024. It was a calculated gamble, banking on continuity, chemistry, and veteran leadership, but one that hasn't aged well. Players like Javon Kinlaw, signed to a lucrative deal to bolster the defensive interior, have failed to deliver on the lofty expectations. The defense, once fierce and disciplined, has to often look disjointed and passive. On offense, injuries to key playmakers like Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin have exposed a lack of depth, forcing Peters to confront the uncomfortable truth that his roster construction might have been more fragile than it appeared. Yet, even in a season where little has gone right, one player has been the shining exception: Laremy Tunsil. Peters' decision to trade significant draft compensation to the Houston Texans for the star left tackle raised eyebrows at the time. Many questioned whether the move was short-sighted, especially for a team that wasn't yet a true contender. But as the season unfolded, Tunsil silenced every critic in emphatic fashion. He has been a rock, a literal wall of protection on the blind side, anchoring an offensive line that could have easily crumbled under the strain of injuries and inconsistency. The numbers don't lie. Through 564 offensive snaps, Tunsil has allowed just 1 sack, 7 penalties, and a mere 12 total pressures. That's elite-level production, no matter how you slice it. His pass blocking grade of 87.3 from Pro Football Focus ranks 4th among all qualifying tackles. But that stat alone doesn't capture his full impact. His run blocking has been underrated for years, and this season, it's been crucial for a Commanders offense that struggled to find its identity on the ground. More than that, Tunsil has taken on the role of mentor, helping rookie right tackle Josh Conerly Jr. navigate the inevitable growing pains of transitioning to the NFL. In a locker room that has sometimes lacked leadership, Tunsil has become a steadying presence, calm, professional, and relentless in his craft. And here's the thing: Tunsil's excellence hasn't come in ideal conditions. Washington's offense has been battered and bruised from the start. Jaden Daniels has missed significant time, Terry McLaurin has battled nagging injuries, and the running game has been stuck in neutral more often than not for a lesser tackle. These circumstances might have led to frustration or regression, but Tunsil, he's thrived in spite of them. His consistency, even as chaos swirls around him, has been one of the few certainties in a season full of questions. That's why Adam Peters cannot afford to let his contract situation linger. If the Commanders want stability, if they want to send a message about accountability and long-term vision, extending Laremy Tunsil before the offseason chaos begins is the move that must happen first. Now, let's talk numbers. Tunsil is entering the final year of his current deal, which carries a $24.95 million cap hit in 2026. He'll be 31 years old when the new season kicks off, but in today's NFL, elite tackles are playing well into their mid-30s without missing a beat. Just look at veterans like Trent Williams and Tyron Smith, who continue to perform at an all-pro level, long after most linemen would have declined. For a player like Tunsil who relies on impeccable technique, timing, and hand placement rather than pure athleticism, the aging curve is even more forgiving. Extending him now, perhaps on a 2- or 3-year deal, isn't just about rewarding past performance, it's about securing the future. It would give Peters the flexibility to rework Tunsil's cap number, freeing up space to address other pressing needs in free agency. Washington's front office already took steps to restructure Tunsil's deal earlier this season, a clear sign of trust and mutual respect between the player and management. That restructuring smoothed over immediate financial concerns, but it also hinted at a larger plan that now seems ready to come full circle, with the Commanders poised to make sweeping changes elsewhere on the roster. Keeping a cornerstone like Tunsil in place is a no-brainer. He's more than just a left tackle, he's the kind of player you build around, especially when your young quarterback needs protection to develop. And make no mistake, protecting Jaden Daniels should be priority number one. The young signal caller flashed brilliance before injuries derailed his season. His mobility, poise, and leadership give the Commanders hope for the future. But none of that will matter if he's constantly running for his life. The blind side is sacred territory for any franchise quarterback, and having someone like Tunsil guarding it means Daniels can grow without fear. Peters knows this. He's seen what happens when teams fail to invest in protection. Just ask franchises like the Colts or the Panthers, who spent years cycling through quarterbacks because they never built the line properly. There's also a cultural component here. Extending Tunsil early would send a strong message to both the locker room and the fanbase. It says, performance gets rewarded, leadership gets recognized, and the team is committed to building something lasting. Too often, the Commanders have been a revolving door of talent and leadership. Star players come and go, regimes reset every few years, and fans are left wondering when stability will finally arrive. By giving Tunsil his due now, Peters can show that this era of Washington football is different, that it's about consistency, not chaos. Still, Peters will have to balance sentiment with strategy. The Commanders' salary cap might look healthy on paper, but with so many pending free agents and roster holes, every dollar counts. That's why timing is crucial. An early extension could allow the team to spread out Tunsil's cap hit, perhaps even lower his 2026 figure, while guaranteeing him more security long-term. It's a win-win scenario. Tunsil gets financial peace of mind, and Peters gets flexibility to reinforce other key areas like the defensive line, secondary, and wide receiver depth. For all the noise surrounding Washington's disappointing season, the Tunsil trade remains a masterstroke. It's the kind of move that, in hindsight, defines a front office's identity. When everyone else was fixated on flashy skill players or defensive stars, Peters prioritized the trenches. He understood that true transformation starts up front, that the path to sustained success is paved by stability on the offensive line. Now, by extending Tunsil, he has a chance to double down on that philosophy and make it clear that Washington's rebuild isn't about temporary patches, it's about lasting structure. In a year when almost everything has gone wrong, Laremy Tunsil has been the one thing the Commanders got absolutely right. His dominance, leadership, and durability have provided a foundation amid the wreckage. As Adam Peters prepares for what will likely be the most consequential offseason of his career, there's no decision that makes more sense or sends a stronger message than locking up his all-pro left tackle for the foreseeable future. Because if Washington truly wants to rise again, it starts where it always should, with the man protecting the quarterback's blind side, standing tall, unyielding, and ready to lead the charge. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. The NFL offseason is always a whirlwind, but this year, the rumors are reaching a fever pitch. And if the whispers circulating around the league turn out to be true, one team could be on the verge of an absolutely transformative move. Sources are buzzing about a potential signing that would send shockwaves through defensive backfields across the country. The former Defensive Player of the Year, widely regarded as one of the most dominant forces in the secondary over the past several seasons, is reportedly now a free agent. That's right, this is a player who has made quarterbacks' nights a living nightmare, who has turned what might have been routine completions into highlight reel interceptions, and who has consistently been a game changer on the defensive side of the ball. The idea that he's available right now is sending every front office into a frenzy, and the team that seems most poised to capitalize on this opportunity, none other than the Washington Commanders, for those who have been following the Commanders closely. This news could mark the beginning of a new era in Washington. The secondary has always been a critical piece of any championship-caliber team, but despite flashes of promise, the Commanders have never quite been able to lock down the opposition consistently. Imagine, just for a moment, a player of this caliber stepping into that unit. The thought alone makes fans' hearts race. This isn't just about a player who can make a tackle or cover a receiver. We're talking about a defensive mind. A player who can read offenses before they even know what play they're running. Someone who can disrupt timing, create turnovers, and elevate everyone around him. The Commanders' secondary could go from being competent to downright impenetrable. A true fortress where opposing quarterbacks fear to tread. Sources hint that talks between the Commanders' front office and the players' representatives have already begun. Though nothing is officially confirmed yet, the fact that these discussions are happening at all is enough to set the rumor mills spinning. Fans are taking to social media, speculating on how this move could reshape the team's defensive identity. Could this be the missing piece the Commanders have needed? To finally compete at the highest level, there's a sense that if they can seal this deal, they would instantly be considered one of the league's premier defenses, capable of shutting down even the most explosive offenses week in and week out. The excitement is palpable, and the chatter has only intensified as insiders drop cryptic hints that Washington is seriously in the mix. Imagine the potential scenarios on the field. This former Defensive Player of the Year isn't just a shadow of his former self. Reports suggest he's still at the top of his game, in peak physical condition, and hungry to prove that he belongs among the elite. Linebackers would gain a safety net over the top. Cornerbacks would play with increased confidence knowing that help is always there. And the entire defensive scheme could shift to take advantage of his unparalleled skill set. Opposing quarterbacks would have to rethink their entire approach, perhaps even avoiding certain zones, or altering their reads mid-play because of the constant threat looming in the backfield. For Washington, this could translate into more turnovers, better field position, and ultimately, wins lots of them. The intrigue doesn't stop there. The ripple effects of this signing could extend far beyond just the Commanders' secondary. Rival teams would have to adjust their game plans to account for this new defensive juggernaut. Coaches would be scheming on ways to minimize his impact, while commentators and analysts across the country would debate endlessly about just how much of a difference a single elite player can make. But for fans in Washington, the conversation is far more immediate and thrilling. This is the kind of move that inspires hope, the kind of addition that can electrify a fan base and bring energy back to a team that has long been seeking a signature moment. The mere possibility of landing a player of this caliber has already ignited discussions in sports bars, living rooms, and online forums everywhere. It's worth noting that the market for elite defensive players is always competitive, and the Commanders won't be alone in pursuing this superstar. There are whispers that multiple teams are circling, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce, but insiders suggest that Washington might have an edge, possibly due to salary cap flexibility, the appeal of joining a team with an ascending roster, or perhaps even the chance to be part of a narrative that positions them as immediate contenders. The sense of urgency surrounding this situation is intense. Teams that hesitate might simply miss out. Meanwhile, fans are watching every move, parsing every tweet, and analyzing every cryptic press conference for clues that might indicate whether this dream acquisition is closer to reality than fiction. From a strategic standpoint, the signing of this Defensive Player of the Year could redefine how the Commanders approach the upcoming season. Defensive coordinators would have the freedom to experiment with more aggressive schemes, knowing they have a player capable of covering ground, disrupting passing lanes, and intimidating receivers. It could also have an unspoken psychological impact. When your opponents know that there's a shutdown defender patrolling the field, their confidence wavers, mistakes creep in, and games that might have been close could tilt decisively in your favor. For Washington, this isn't just a player acquisition, it's potentially a cultural shift. A statement that the team is serious about competing and building a dynasty-level defense. As the rumors swirl, speculation is reaching a fever pitch. Fans are crafting hypothetical lineups, imagining highlight reels of spectacular interceptions and game-saving tackles. Analysts are weighing in on how this player would fit schematically, debating whether his presence would elevate the cornerbacks, strengthen the safeties, or allow the front seven to play more aggressively. Every new tweet, every minor leak from sources only fuels the frenzy. The narrative practically writes itself. A former defensive player of the year, a free agent, and a team that desperately needs a defensive anchor combine all of these elements, and the storyline is irresistible. The NFL landscape could be on the verge of a dramatic shake-up, and Washington fans are daring to dream big. If the Commanders do manage to pull off this signing, it will likely be remembered as one of the defining moves of the offseason. It's the kind of acquisition that instantly alters expectations, energizes a roster, and makes fans believe in something bigger than a single season. The defensive unit could become a fortress. Quarterbacks could find themselves frustrated week after week, and the league might have to adjust its perception of Washington as a serious contender. The intrigue, the drama, and the potential are all there, and while nothing is confirmed yet, the sheer possibility of this player donning a Commander's uniform is enough to send ripples through the NFL, making this one of the most talked about stories of the offseason. The rumor is out, the chatter is loud, and for anyone paying attention, it's impossible not to get caught up in the excitement of what could be a truly historic move. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.